Hello, it's Brad Laurie or BlockchainBrad, and today a special interview with the CEO of Morpheus Labs. His name is Peihan. Peihan, thank you very much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, everyone.
And for transparency, it's important I also disclose that I am the ambassador for, or one of a few ambassadors for Morpheus Labs, and it is my honor to be able to do that role simply because we are looking for truth, trust and transparency, and we're also looking for blockchains and startups that can really move forward in the future as this industry progresses. The CEO of Morpheus Labs, as I said, is here to really provide an insight into what they've been doing. So without further ado, let's get into this, Peihan. Respectfully, many people may not be aware of what the BPaaS is, of what Morpheus Labs is. So let's rewind a moment and talk about what you are, what you stand for, and why we need these intermediaries like yourselves to really facilitate the development of blockchain.
Okay, so when we started, it's actually about 4 years ago. We started as a development house, and we actually took in early project of all those blockchain development in Singapore. So from end client's perspective, we realized that to adopt blockchain is actually quite difficult and very time consuming, because there are a lot of things to do before you can actually start to develop. I mean, by saying that, the reason why many blockchain actually partner with us, as everybody can see, is also this is actually to date the adoption barrier of using blockchain is still relatively quite high, although each of them has a really strong capability, but it doesn't actually mean that adoption is easy. So that's the reason why we actually create this platform, which we integrated all the resources and built a development environment easier for all the developers to develop. So cutting short is through us, it'll be actually easier for you to develop any dApp on different blockchains that you choose to use. Yeah.
Right. And for those who may not be aware, Peihan, what would be the reason why a company out there in the mainstream would adopt blockchain?
Okay. So, I mean, let's take Singapore as an example. I mean, our government is actually very, very pro, I would say, internet, or maybe pro technology. So, example, let's say e-invoicing, digital invoicing, and I would say also they're also pushing on they call it the e-BOL, e-bill of lading. So in Singapore, our government is actually pushing for paperless, everything going onto paperless. So the reason why is the core capability of blockchain, as we know, is actually about data, how you secure data. So when all this information is actually become paperless, going into digital, that is the reason why we foresee more and more companies actually adopt on blockchain.
Mm-hmm. And in the context, sorry to interrupt, but in the context of crypto, we hear that term thrown around. Do you think that you need to have that integration of crypto, or cryptocurrency, or cryptography, more importantly, into the system so that we can really utilize the benefits of utility tokens, for example, and we don't really know what the future will come with other types of tokens? But is that all part of the value that you bring, being that intermediary, being that service, that full stack that allows for business to integrate and bridge with crypto?
Yeah. I mean, for us, if I understand correctly, it's about our token that actually been used in our platform. Because I mean, being as a businessman, and for quite many years, I'm doing cross-border transaction, and also doing a lot of these transaction, and how we actually retain customers. Actually, eventually, it's all about operation efficiencies. So we see it, our token is actually a very good way to actually transact from us within our customers, or maybe our partner network. And it's also a good tool for us to actually to incentivize, or maybe to retain them for more services, or maybe the longer services. So that's actually the concept of why we think our token would be a good tool to promote this efficiency, and also a longer relationship with our customer, or maybe partners.
I see. I mean, I'd love to talk to you later in the interview about the utility token specifically, and really explore the potential of blockchain, where perhaps some of these businesses that you're onboarding may not need a token, but you've made it clear that underpinning everything is this imperative of your utility token that really fuels your whole ecosystem. Now, moving back to your core design, essentially you are that one-stop shop to really facilitate the new generations of business optimize their scenario and their needs. But what sets you apart from the other one-stop shops, Pei? What sets you apart from those who are also trying to be that conduit for business, utilizing a platform much as yourselves, so that we can really know you're in that position right now to take advantage of this very nascent time to really showcase the best of blockchain as we move forward?
Yes. So I think recently we are quite honored and very happy that our government, IMDA, is actually belongs to the Infocom department in Singapore. We are actually being acknowledged as one of the enterprise solution and a consultancy firm in Singapore among all those big names, PwC, all those. So actually, that's actually quite honored to be there. And also referring back to what sets us apart from other platform. So actually, from what we know is that so far, and quite lucky, we are the only platform that should provide end-to-end developments. It means that from prototyping to testing to deployment. Most of the other, I would say, not really competitor, but all those actually trying to do similar things compared to us. They're actually focusing either on really front end. That's example, maybe a platform. A platform actually enable you to easily create smart contract. That's one example. Or maybe a platform actually easily for you to deploy blockchain nodes. So saying that is actually, all those actually belong to really small portion of first stage, which is actually developing. It doesn't actually cover full-fledged of the this entire development phases. And so far, we are actually the only platform doing so to allow somebody actually come in, really go through and deploy in real commercial stage.
I see. And what's interesting also, Peihan, is that we see the likes of Quant Network, for example, led by Gilbert Verdian, clearly making serious strides in the business sector with real announcements. We would all assume, given the evidence we've seen unfold, with regard to they also trying to be, that conduit and also that technology that enables more blockchain business. And you're also doing the same, but you're saying that you're that BPaaS, once again, a full stack solution. Now, in that respect, I wanted to ask you just for a quick update on the technology, right from, whether or not you're improving the access through more developer languages, through the developer portal, through your console and your developer workspace. You must be doing things since we last spoke that really enhance the technology itself.
Yeah. So basically, our tech team is actually continuously improving our whole platform. So currently, what they are doing is actually to improve the deployment stage to allow product owner to easily deploy into the real life. So that's actually the phase where we are actually doing, and we hope to complete this by end of the year to maybe beginning of next year. Yeah, so that we really can actually go out and say, you by using us is you can easily actually deploy without much difficulty into your different department or maybe different stages. Yeah,
I see. So the difficulty is decreasing, because when we first spoke, you had certainly just moved from that year-long period of developing the technology, and you're experimenting with it, and certainly allowing various corporations and enterprise entities to engage with that technology, such as Hanwha, for example, and we'll talk about the Hanwha Dream Plus program later. But with regard to adoption, I wanted to touch on that for a moment. Many people are concerned about the dearth of adoption and the dearth of evidence that any of the blockchain technologies can be adopted or are being adopted. What's your take on that? Being in one of the hubs of blockchain in the world, in Singapore, are you confident that you already have evidence of adoption and that you are already viable?
I think this is actually something that we have not been updating to public, but I think in next but the next 1 or 2 weeks, because I mean, we are so busy in, for me, we have been doing a lot of BD and actually talking to different people. So in the next few weeks, we're going to actually update on this progress, which is actually quite exciting. I think for us, we are one of those rare one, not doing a lot of marketing. So the reason why we also be picked up by our government IMD is because they are actually customers actually start to adopt us. So I think from that is the true value. We actually did it organically to be acknowledged by somebody. Yeah, I mean our government. Yeah.
I see. So you've got things coming that you're not telling us just yet. I'll try and dig deep into them. But let's talk more about the government, because we saw some interesting tweets come out, not necessarily by you guys, but from other sources. And then we saw some other more focused media come out from Morpheus Labs, very specific about, as you mentioned before, the alignment with very prominent companies, very well-known mainstream companies, and also references very directly with the Singaporean government. So can you give us some very clear information about how blockchain relates, how your startup relates, and what your plans are to work with any of these entities, particularly the government?
I think globally, everywhere we know that blockchain is still at the beginning stage. So one of the key things that for everybody who loves blockchain is to actually to educate more people. I mean, the goodness of blockchain. But what I see, I mean, at least what we see in the market right now is actually most of the education part is actually at the theory. I mean, you just go to maybe a few hours course to learn what is Ethereum, and it's all on paper. So what Singapore government is actually promoting is actually on more hands-on. Hands-on, I mean, we have to actually train coder. How can they actually really go all out to start to develop something for the enterprise or maybe SME to use? So looking at the market that currently there isn't actually many platform that they can actually enable these things, but only us right now is actually doing that.
So you're moving away from the theory to pragmatics. Yes. You're literally leading out the sort of the teaching of your technology, in that you're trying to explain or explicate how the technology can integrate with their business. That makes sense. Now, let's talk about the specifics though. Rather than just the fact that you are pro-education and you facilitate that, talk us through how you do it. You know, what are you doing right now at the grassroots with these companies and to make this switch? Give us a bit more information so we really understand what you're doing with business.
Okay, so for BD side of us, we've been actually really busy talking to a lot of the private education provider in Singapore, Malaysia, and Korea. So it is quite excited that when we actually first introduced our platform to them, and then all of them actually really immediately actually know the goodness of our platform, and actually really, I mean, there's actually not much obstacle to convince them. In fact, we don't have to convince them. They see our platform, then they actually want to actually discuss what's the next step. So we are actually so busy. So we're actually forming all these, I would say, education alliance, so that when we ready push up to capture the user, you'll be actually much scalable. So right now we're actually at the stage of forming and signing, and we're actually in a discussion of some of the course materials. Example, we're going to actually push out in plan. We are going to push out light modules, maybe 2 days courses, and these 2 days courses could be actually on different blockchain partners that we have. So students can actually choose. Perhaps today they want to learn XY blockchain. Next day they want to earn another blockchain using our platform. So that's actually what we're trying to do. Yeah. So
you're facilitating education through increasing or enabling people to engage with specific data sets or specific educational resources, like the modules, as you mentioned. But if we can talk more about just mainstream business itself, of enterprise alone, and the onboarding of the technology directly with those enterprises, aside from the educational value that you bring, is that happening, Pei? Are you starting to build out business and enterprise more and more since we last spoke?
Yes, in fact, yes, we actually already doing a few enterprises, And because it's a global name and we are under NDA, because
So you can't tell me.
we are actually developing something internal for them, and we are in process of actually approval process to be the, I would say, the official vendor, and
Right.
also official business technology business partner. So they're actually two streams.
And are they
Vendor
based
is
in Asia?
internally.
Are they based in Asia, these companies that you're working with, these enterprises, or are they global?
They are global. They have office in Singapore, so they are global. Yeah.
Okay. And are they well known in the globe? I mean, I'm trying to obviously dig deep a bit and try and understand a bit more of the plan without you having to disclose too much.
I think they are well known. They are so well known. I think even my nephew knows the name.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm looking forward to that conversation later. Now, let's discuss what is known. Now, Medini Smart City, Malaysia, a big deal. But just to be clear to all listeners, this interview is not about FOMO. It's not about hype. It's finding out what is really happening at the ground level with real development. So how real is this, Peihan? How important is it to integrate with Malaysia and develop technology for a smart city?
I think strategically for us in Singapore, it's actually very good to go into Malaysia as well. So we actually create some advantage for ourselves, if you know what I mean. Okay, so Mandiri is actually a smart city that is actually a lot of Singaporean actually invest in there. So one of the main focus is actually blockchain. But by saying it's actually a huge scope. So the nature of it is actually takes some time. And the angle we are going into is also education related, because we see it's actually the most scalable part and the most urgent needed in current phase. So you still take some time to actually go through discussion with the maybe the government related body to come out something concrete and slowly roll it out. And one of the reasons that we are working with, example, Hanwha or maybe other education partners is because we want to establish this as a complete and finished use case, so that we can actually present to Mandiri to say, okay, this is actually already a standard process, SOP. We can just follow. Try to shorten result from, I'll say, Malaysia side. So this is what we are trying to do as well.
I see. And education obviously feeds into more adoption through, I guess, more students understanding the technology. But also it's important that we're talking about students within the enterprise sphere as well. That's something that you've always made clear. It's not just university students, or it's not just those who are pro blockchain. These are people who are literally needing the information to engage with business.
I think currently right now our focus is actually majority is actually working adults who are actually trying to upscale in their capability. So by saying that, it's actually maybe in their late 20 or maybe mid 30, who are actually already developers, or maybe a technical lead in different countries. That's actually our, so far by percentage, is actually our main focus. Students actually, I would say maybe 1/3 of that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, moving back to the government, I did read some big brands there, and I want to understand them. I saw things like Deloitte, IBM. I want to understand more about the scope of the connection you have with those kinds of partners. Obviously, the government has its own very much blockchain-focused plan. You're included in that clearly. But what does it mean for Morpheus Labs to have those brands aligned with the government specifically, so we really understand?
I think for us, we are, being a platform, it means that everybody can use us. And we are friendly to different user, different type of user. So be it IBM or other enterprise solution, we are just a vehicle to enable them to deliver their services fast enough.
Right. I just want to jump in there and say, I don't know if you're just a vehicle. You may be the vehicle. So how important is it to have that direct support? Are you one of many other blockchain startups like this, or is there a special relationship you do have with the government so that you can facilitate the growth of this industry?
I think certain level of the relationship there is, but that is actually not what we are looking at. It's more like so far a few of our clients, they actually quite involved in government related projects. So for us, we are not front facing to anybody. We actually working with these our existing customers. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah,
So,
they're having more relationship.
Sure, but how involved are you? Because when we spoke once before, it was clear that you do have some connection, dialogue being had to really uplift the value of blockchain in the business frame. What's your plan for the future with regard to the government, with regard to forging stronger relationships to make sure that Morpheus Labs has a strong position for the future? That's really what I'm getting at, to try and understand that Morpheus Labs is here and it's here to stay because of other key support.
I think let's put it maybe this way, is that at least for Singapore government, they really love to promote technology, and it happened to be that in current environment, Morpheus Labs is the unique one, which actually providing the unique service. So currently and lucky, we are the only choices in Singapore, at least, for them to maybe, if they have any customers or maybe anybody interested to do something, some solution, they were actually quite happy to actually direct to us.
I see.
For government.
So really, it's not about fortune, it's about the hard work and the hard yards you put in early to be available now. And that's probably the key asset, is that your technology is ready. Now, many would agree, two partnerships that I've seen emerge, or two relationships or integrations that I've seen, or collaborations rather, are Geeq and Integrations Works. I want to talk to you about Geeq first. I've had an interview with them that'll be coming out, but I was quite impressed with the depth of their technology and what they had to say. Can I ask you, though, for the flip side, to understand your position and why you chose to partner and work with Geeq?
Okay, so every day or every week, we actually receive a lot of the inquiry and requests to partner with us. And that's actually quite good, especially from blockchain protocols. So, I mean, as time goes by, we actually learned we have some internal process of actually choosing who to partner. Of course, setting aside branding, we actually look really in depth into the team. Is the team having a lot of experience? That's point one. And the second point, very important, is actually, is the team really want to do something? I mean, by saying do something, is actually not doing marketing, but want to actually at least to capture the market. Do they have any plan when they actually launch onto mainnet? Do they have actually any commitment and plan to capture user and to grow the user together with us? This is actually the most important thing that we're actually looking at. So for Geeq, I mean, as we know, I mean, the team is actually quite experienced and from all aspects. And also after talking to Geeq, the management team, we realized that the commitment is actually quite high. They want to do something, especially they want to capture the user. So that's actually the reason why after partnering with most of all those renowned partners, we choose, okay, we can actually do something with Geeq, because this is a time together. We should actually capture the market. Instead of, I mean, there are actually some person come to us to say, okay, let's do a PR and that's all.
Yeah, so you're removing the BS from the equation when it comes to working with collaborations. And it's something that I guess all the audience should know. This is something that you haven't just said on camera. You've said this off camera. I've heard this many times before in discussion. You really are trying to look for those who have the same philosophy when it comes to the plan that you want to build out, which is to be real. You know, and to be honest with you, Peihan, this is something I'm also looking for in the space. And obviously I'm an ambassador, but beyond that, you know, to support and do many of the free interviews, it's still about trying to highlight those that are moving beyond the narratives, moving beyond those PR collaborations. So are you saying that with Geeq, for example, you're really trying to build something together so that you can enable business, you can enable and facilitate more than just their protocol and your platform, but something more?
Yes. I mean, the main keyword is adoption. I mean, the whole team of Geeq is actually committed to collaborate on adoption together. This is actually the key. I mean, like I just previously mentioned, we talked to quite a few blockchains. And we, after talking to them, we realized that there's actually some obstacle of actually pushing beyond marketing, and hence we actually take it slow with them. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, looking forward to seeing that evolve. And as I said, it was really interesting to hear from the Geeq team talk and really understand more about what their protocol is about and hear what they want to do with it. Exciting times. Now, you've had support from the crypto space through Daily Chain, BlockVera, BlockFire. Is that still going to continue? Are you going to have more and more PR support to make sure that you are always, well situated in this very convoluted and complex domain that we call the crypto space?
I mean, for this cryptos part, it's really lucky that I have been you guys as ambassador like Tomo, Rune, and Robbie, and you. So of course, this we actually having them to in charge and also to continuously drive more on this area. Yeah. So I would say that it's a continuous effort. Yeah.
Right, and I can say that Rune, Robbie, and Tomo are doing an exceptional job in trying to continue to explain exactly what you're working on doing right now. Now, the token, always a tough topic, but I wanted to go back and talk about the purpose first rather than price. What is the proof of the utility? How can you really give us the confidence, especially at the moment when we've seen BTC take a significant dive? There's some concerns about just overall trust in this trustless environment. Obviously concerns about whales and manipulation and all kinds of concerns that people have. But when it comes to your token, to the utility token, how can we be sure that the purpose is as it says it is in the tokenomics and in the white paper?
That is actually a really tough question because for us it's because the whole backend technology of our platform is actually designed embedded with the token usage itself. Example, how one can actually unlock more advanced features and how one can actually get I would say incentive. All these are actually already embedded in the system. Right. So I can't actually open up the platform to show you, but this is actually, I mean, if somebody actually subscribe to our platform, gradually you will know, okay, so now I have to actually buy more, I have to actually use more token to unlock and other things. So it's actually it itself is the truth and how our platform is actually designed.
Okay, so the ease of use of the interface of the UI as well is a way in which I could technically better understand the purpose of the token and the system. So how is the interface going, Peihan? How is the development of that? How easy is it for, as you mentioned, all the way from students to enterprise to engage in that sort of the front image of Morpheus Labs when it comes to the suite of technologies and the suite of products? Is that constantly being updated? Is it something that's very easy for people to use? Because in this day and age, easy is going to be imperative when everything is so complex underneath with the blockchain.
Yes. So in fact, that for our team, we actually constantly get feedbacks from enterprise students and also developers. It's also quite fortunate that we even have some I would say savvy developers actually send me WhatsApp to give me feedbacks on our platform. So we are continuously actually getting this every month and put it in our quarterly updates. So there's also the aim of it, and the reason why I would say blockchain partners aside, the reason why they partner with us, one of the stakes is actually the CTO, maybe the tech team actually come in to actually to analyze and also to actually try our platform. So they also give some feedback. There's actually blockchain partner aside, and for the student as I mentioned, we actually constantly actually receive WhatsApp message, and also for enterprise, we also have constant feedback. That's the reason why we actually feel that we actually need to actually focus more on deployment because our prototyping testing is actually quite, I would say, near perfect. It's actually on the deployment side. Is actually we want to give another push. Yeah, to give
I see. So really, because deployment's the focus now, and you've done the prototyping, you've done a lot of the core tech. Is the region you're in sort of the core factor for you building our business, perhaps in Singapore and in Asia now? What I mean by this is, because obviously you're a growing team, but many of you are situated in Singapore. Is much of your business being developed or established in Singapore and in that region of Asia, or is it the case that you have representatives globally that can facilitate this integration?
Yeah. So in fact, that because our go-to-market model is actually through agent, distributors, and partners. So although our core team is actually in Singapore, and we focus in Singapore and Malaysia, but in example in Germany, we are having a distributor. In Korea, we have distributors, and we are actually growing this distributorship in US as well. So we actually grow in different regions. Yeah.
Okay, so US, Korea, Germany, that's exciting because many of those regions are doing a lot with blockchain and have held many different conferences to reflect that. Now, moving back to the token, I want to ask you a tough one, and that is the performance of the token itself. I know you can't comment on price for legal reasons, and you simply wouldn't anyway. But for the consumer, for the user, for the investor, however we deem it, we've seen a lot of fluctuation in prices right across the board in crypto, and yours is no different. What's your comment on this if we ask you, to say something on this issue of token performance?
I think it would be more like to us it's a growing pain. It means that we are still, we are small cap, so anybody actually sell a little bit, you actually or maybe buy a little bit, you actually increase quite dramatically. But slowly, when, like I mentioned, when we push for more adoption, when the demands comes in, when the volume come in for real users, not only buyer, yes. So eventually, real user will actually overweight or of these speculators.
I see. So we'll see a tipping point at some time. But how much of that is happening now, Pei Han? Because obviously the speculators are a prominent sector of the space right now. We see a lot of traders as well. But obviously you're trying to really shift that so that the majority of participants in your ecosystem are real users, not simply those trying to bet on the price. So how much of it is happening now in percentage in your estimate, and how much is evolving, considering that in a moment we'll talk about the treasury, and that's designed to also improve the performance directly because of real business being done?
Okay, I can't comment how many percent is a real user and how many percent is actually a speculator, because I don't have that. I'm not an expert in looking. Yeah, correct. But I would say the reason why we are actually growing crazily into building all these education provider channels, it takes time. It's all about the scalability. That means when all these channels actually set up, all the operations actually already in place smoothly, how it scale will be quite rocket fast. So we could possibly see once all this done, the growth of our customer demand will be stably increase quite fast.
Okay, so
I can't say too much on something that.
Well, that's really interesting, because it sounds like you do know things you're not telling us. And the reason I suggest that is because the treasury model would also reflect a significant move in the utility token, coupled with things that none of us know that that you're privy to. Now, talking about the treasury model, you have made sure in your design that when there is investments, when there's enterprise injections of investment, that affects the circulating supply, that affects the whole tokenomic model. Can you just touch on that, given that you're suggesting to us that there are more and more enterprise partnerships coming, there's more value to be had?
I won't say it's investment, it's actually a deal, purchase of product or services.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, for treasury partner, it's actually designed in a way to actually facilitate the smooth transition of enterprise purchasing our product using fiat, and how it actually convert into token. Because to be honest, everybody knows that enterprise to purchase token would be
a nightmare.
Also, it's
for them. They wouldn't know what to do.
It's
sorry. And that's interesting, Pei, because when I've talked to many other parties, one of the core challenges for them is they perhaps haven't set up a back-end solution for enterprises to go and work with a team like you. Rather, they just expect them to go to exchanges. So is that another asset, that you provide this treasury offering and enable enterprises to purchase via your product, purchase your products and services via this treasury system, so that you facilitate this process as much as you do offering innovative technologies and products?
Yes, correct. I mean, to be honest, in Singapore or maybe in Malaysia, if your company actually have a cryptocurrency on it, it's really hard for you to open the bank account over here. So there's a fact, and there's a reason why even for a bigger SME or enterprise, if you're asking them to go to exchange to purchase a token and actually to pay us to service, I think it's actually a no-go deal. They won't do it. Then they'll say bye-bye to you. So yeah, and also there's a main purpose of our treasury and our treasury partner to come in to facilitate all this smoothly.
I see. Now, just one more point on the treasury I wanted to ask you. Given that there's clear correlations with the lockup, and obviously the lockup of tokens in these deals that you do make with enterprises, and that naturally affects the circulating supply. Can you just, somehow nod your head or let us know, are there deals, as you mentioned, enterprise deals that you're making coming in the next few months that, we can expect more information on?
I think business deals, yes. Enterprise is also a business deal. SME is also business deal. So we are actually having business deal. Actually, in fact, we're actually setting up wallets. So we won't actually keep asking public to view it, but we're going to share the wallet to public that these are the wallet that token got locked up because it's actually from business. I see.
So essentially, are you doing more and more business month in, month out?
Yes, correct. And because of compliance issue, and because we also have an internal lawyer, legal advisor, so we are not able to keep asking everybody to refer to the wallet. It is the action that are not allowed by our government. So we will be transparent on our wallet. Yeah.
Okay, and that's important that we do touch on compliance, especially since there's a massive crackdown in the US, for example, and even in Europe, and I'm sure even in Singapore, with regard to making sure that those entities that are engaging in tokenized blockchain startups are all very much by the book. So are you confident that you are making sure that you're ticking all the boxes with any jurisdiction that you work with, that you are by the book and that you are making sure that you can be here for the book?
Because I was from bank, so yeah, there's quite a bit of banks. But one of the things that I learned is actually, especially in Singapore banks, we actually try to be as our best. We do a lot of things to actually make sure we are compliant. Yeah.
Okay. Now, we mentioned before about the Hanwha Dream Plus program. We've spoken at length before in previous interviews, but can we just get an update? Because that was a very significant. There was a very significant connection between that sort of business or that framework and other businesses in Korea. So how is that going, Pei Han? How is the development of that educationally centered?
Okay. So Hanwha is our partner, and it's actually focusing on education. And this plan is actually already, our team already had this plan a few years ago, because we already foresee education would be the big key in adoption. So the reason why we partner with Hanwha is not about commercial, but it's actually more like proof of concept to show to the public, look, we are having such big player working with us. And in fact, if we look at right now, I think we are the one of the rare that actually focusing on education blockchain and able to partner with a big player like Hanwha. And this actually create a result that we are having right now. It makes us really easy to actually talk to education providers. And there's a reason why in the next few weeks or maybe a coming month, we'll be sharing a lot of the partner actually onboarding is actually from education side.
I see. Now, speaking of that, universities have come up a bit in conversations in terms of your value. Is there plans? Is there a plan to integrate more to work with universities more globally?
You mean integrate with universities? Or
yes, specifically with universities, so that people can understand more at that level, aside from the enterprise scholarship level.
Education providers, we are working with universities, yes, but we are also focusing on private education providers, which is actually easier to form collaboration, because university itself it needs to go through a lot of the approval.
I see.
So we are working on different verticals, and universities is actually part of it. But right now in this phase, it's actually about market. So we'll be actually focusing on private education providers more. Yeah.
Okay. So are there plans to also, especially in Asia where that's very popular, that private sector of education, are there plans to work with specific startups beyond Hanwha, of that same sort of repute and standard?
Yes, we already formed one collaboration with one of the Singapore quite famous education providers. Not the biggest, it's also not a small one. So, and also we are actually talking to quite a few in Korea and quite a few in Singapore, and a few in Europe as well. Yeah.
Right. Well, you sound very busy with all of those initiatives that you're planning. Now, the team. I wanted to ask you about any changes that have been made, any adjustments, anyone that's left, any new employees. What's the team doing? How's everything going?
I think there's actually some adjustment of the team. It's quite open, and I think most of people will see. So because it's a startup at the initial stage, and when we grow, different team member would have a different interest. So they actually invest themselves in another phase of their life into different things. So, and for the reventing team, we are actually doing the same thing, like multitasking. So, example, the Bruce story, they're also taking up on technical development and also BD as well. Yeah. So the rest of team, we are still growing. Yeah.
Okay, so is funding an issue? I want to double check this because obviously your team, as you mentioned before, some have left. I presume your team's still very much that core number of people, but then growing. But in terms of the multitasking requisite, is there a funding issue right now with regard to you having the runways for the future? Do you have enough capital to keep going, Peihan, to really make this something great both in Asia and the world?
I think to keep it going is actually not the main key. The key is actually to grow fast. To sustain it is actually not a big issue. So okay. our question is actually how to triple and or maybe a few times more. So this is what we are thinking every day. Yeah.
So you're going for an aggressive approach. Is that aggressive business plan likely to unfold this year? Given that you are the CEO, you would know more than anyone what exactly your plan of attack is.
I think the whole architect is actually designed and drafted to be aggressive, but not at the initial stage, because the way for you to grow fast is for you to actually have a really strong fundamental. So what we've been spending time is actually to build all these pillars that I mentioned, all these strong distribution channels, and to teach them and also to work with them to actually to push out all the process nicely. So I foresee and our aim is to actually to go even faster, perhaps towards end of the year or maybe beginning of next year. Things will actually start to catch up.
Right. Yeah. So in the roadmap, can you itemize or isolate any specifics? For the rest of the year, let's focus on that time frame. Are there any big things that you want to mention that you're excited about, or that are in the roadmap, or that are coming?
You mean for business, BD?
Or anything at all you want to mention with regard to the roadmap for MITx, for Morpheus Labs?
I think there is always I think they are, I'm trying to actually put it more politically or maybe more correct.
Okay.
I don't want to actually formal anything.
Okay. Well, I don't mind the
There are a few, there are actually a few exciting projects on hand and moving towards final stage. And by saying it's actually exciting, it's actually not only the scale of the potential scale of the project, it's actually more like the party involved in these projects. Yeah, and we are working on a few, and we hope that we could see the results soon. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that all those who are supporting you, whether they're investors or not, whether they're pro blockchain or pro crypto, or just, really interested in the evolution of these technologies, it's certainly exciting to hear more development in that real sector, with real mainstream businesses bringing themselves into this domain. And you're literally one of the reasons why this is possible. So obviously there's a lot happening for you. Is there anything you wanted to finally add in this interview to let us know about everything that you're doing right now, Peihan, to secure your position as a legitimate entity in this crypto and blockchain space?
I think we, like I mentioned, that we are not, as our core team itself, we are not really expert in marketing, so we actually hand this to our community ambassadors. But I think by seeing us appear on some of these reputable government-related information, I think that's actually some endorsement and also acknowledgement that behind the scene, the core team is actually doing a lot of things actually on BD, talking to people and actually forming a lot of partnership. That's the reason why we having this type of endorsement. Even from what we've done in Malaysia, so we are also one of the key partners there. Yeah. Right. There could be actually 100 blockchain companies in Malaysia and Singapore, but we are one of the few inside. So there's also one of the endorsement. Yeah.
I see. So once again, you're in that key position right now to really lead out something that is quite simply never been done before, to the degree that you want to plan out. You've been building for some years, technologically first, and now you're in that space of trying to showcase with scholarship, with education, really build out the possibilities for enterprise. You are enterprise centric. You are the BPaaS for the blockchain future when it comes to blockchain platform as a service. You're all about products and services to enable transitioning from the current business models into the future. So Peihan, on behalf of the ambassadors, on behalf of all those who want to know more, for those who are supporting the utility of this new startup as well, I want to thank you for your time, sincerely, because we do need to have these updates and this information, and obviously look forward to the next conversation when we have more to talk about as you evolve.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
You're very welcome. Thanks, Peihan.